It's 2 in the morning. You wake up for a glass of water, and there I am, frozen in the hallway, not a twitch, every muscle held perfectly still, eyes locked onto a patch of bare wall about 3 feet from the floor. You wave your hand in front of my face. You snap your fingers. You say my name in that slightly self-conscious tone people use when they're not entirely sure who they're addressing. Then you lean in and look at the exact spot I'm looking at, and you see what you expected to see. Plaster, paint, a faint scuff from the last time you moved the bookshelf. You straighten up, shake your head, and go back to bed. You're convinced there's nothing there. But I haven't moved. The most popular explanation for what just happened is also the most convenient one. Cats zone out. Cats daydream. Cats are easily bored animals with overactive hunting instincts, and occasionally that ancient wiring fires at random, at shadows, at dust motes, at the sheer texture of a painted surface in low light. It's a tidy theory. It lets you go back to sleep without worrying too much, and it is almost certainly wrong. The trouble is that this explanation treats my world as if it's essentially the same as yours, just viewed from a lower angle with more napping. That assumption is carrying an enormous amount of weight for something that has never been even slightly true. My world, the one I'm inhabiting right now at 2 in the morning in your hallway, is not a quieter, simpler version of yours. It is a different world entirely, running on different frequencies, lit by different light, shaped by senses you lost or never had. The gap between what you perceive and what I perceive is so wide that if you could spend 30 seconds inside my head, you would not go calmly back to bed. Let's start with the obvious thing you overlook every single day: my whiskers. You probably think of them as decorative or maybe useful for judging whether I can squeeze through a narrow gap. They are neither of those things primarily. Their real job is pressure detection, reading the air the way you'd read a room. The anatomist A.L. Vincent documented in 1912 the extraordinary density of nerve endings packed into the base of vibrissae, that's the technical name for whiskers, and what those nerves do is register microfluctuations in air pressure, not drafts, not breezes. We're talking about the kind of imperceptible air displacement that happens when something small changes its position behind a surface. As I sit in your hallway right now, my whiskers are reading the air in real time. There is a movement behind that wall, small, consistent, repositioning itself every few minutes. My whiskers have been telling me its approximate size, its direction, and its distance since before you even walked out of the bedroom. You pressed your face close to that wall and perceived nothing. I didn't need to press anything anywhere. The air was already talking. Now let's talk about hearing, because this is where the gap between us becomes almost embarrassing for you. I mean, not for me. Your hearing tops out at roughly 20,000 hertz on a good day. In 1985, researchers Hefner and Hefner published a study on the hearing range of the domestic cat, and the number they found for my upper limit was 64 kilohertz. That is more than 3 times your ceiling. 3 times. What that means in practice is that I can hear the ultrasonic calls mice use to communicate with one another. Sounds you would need specialized laboratory equipment to even detect. I hear the specific high-frequency friction of small claws moving against insulation inside a wall cavity. I can localize that sound in 3-dimensional space with a precision that would embarrass most recording technology. So when I lock onto a point behind your plasterboard at 2 in the morning, I am not staring at nothing. I am listening to something move, and I know almost exactly where it is. Turnbull's 2013 research in applied animal behavior science also confirmed how exquisitely sensitive cats are to tracking movement at the very edge of perception, the kind of flicker or micro shift that registers in us before conscious processing even begins. When I snap my head towards something you didn't see move, I didn't imagine it. I just processed it first. Here's the part that tends to make people genuinely uncomfortable, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. In 2014, a team led by Ron Douglas at City University London published findings in the Journal of Experimental Biology confirming something that had long been suspected but never conclusively demonstrated. Cats can see ultraviolet light. Your eye's lens blocks UV almost entirely. Mine does not. UV light reveals a layer of the world that has been present in your home this entire time, perfectly invisible to you. Urine trails left by insects or rodents fluoresce under UV. They glow like neon on a dark street. Certain markings on insect wings, invisible in ordinary light, blaze clearly in my visual field. Old biological traces on surfaces that look spotless to you appear as distinct, readable patterns to me. Your hallway wall, the one that looks like a plain expanse of flat white to you, might be covered in information. Trails, marks, a map of everything that has moved along it over weeks or months. I'm reading it right now. In a light you cannot switch on no matter how many fixtures you install. You're standing in the dark, and you don't even know it. Here's where it gets stranger still, and I want you to stay with me on this. Not everything I react to has a clean biological explanation. The electrical systems inside your walls, the wiring, the hum of the refrigerator's compressor, the LED fixtures cycling at 60 hertz, all of these produce micro vibrations and faint electromagnetic fields that sit squarely within the range I can detect, and that you are almost entirely insensitive to. Your refrigerator to you is a low background murmur you stopped noticing years ago. To me, it is a detailed, localized frequency profile with harmonics that shift when the compressor cycles. When something in that profile changes, a capacitor warming, a circuit drawing more current, I register it immediately as a change in the room's character, as new information arriving. So when you find me frozen, staring at something you cannot see, sometimes I'm watching a mouse navigate the inside of your wall. Sometimes I'm tracking a moth larva moving behind your skirting board, leaving a UV trail like a tiny glowing thread. Sometimes I'm reading a shift in air pressure that hasn't resolved into anything I can identify yet. And so I wait, because that is exactly what you do when the data is still coming in. The word for none of this is nothing. There's a whole hidden layer of the animal world in here. Stay if you want the stranger versions. The next time you catch me frozen, staring at a patch of wall or a corner of ceiling, and you feel that faint, irrational unease, the one that makes you look twice at the same empty spot, that feeling is not nothing. It's the oldest reminder there is, that the room you think you know completely is only the room you can perceive. I have been sitting in the other version of it the whole time, watching things move through walls, reading light you cannot see, listening to frequencies that stopped existing for your species long ago. You called it nothing. You'll never know what I really saw.